Badr Hari is one of the most dangerous kickboxers to ever step in the ring. Hari's captured multiple championships over his long career, boasting 106 wins, 92 of which came via knockout. So today we're going to take a look at the tactics and techniques that Hari's used to dominate his competition. Because while Hari may appear at first glance to rely primarily on tried and true basics, there's a lot more at play than may at first meet the eye. Standing at 6'6", Hari enjoys using tools that favor the taller man with the greater reach. Primarily the jab, lead teep, and lead leg roundhouse. But luckily for the audience, Hari doesn't use these tactics to outpoint competitors and coast to an easy victory. Instead, he utilizes these classic rangefinders to keep distance, so that he can pick and choose his moments to move in for the finish. That's not to say that Hari is successful because of his height and reach alone. After all, he changes up his style very well when fighting against larger opponents, moving in deep to negate their reach advantage. The point is that Hari knows how to tailor his style to suit his own body type. And one of the great things about having the longer reach is that you can goad opponents into overreaching with their attacks, setting up perfect opportunities for counters. For instance, one of the ways that Hari is able to capitalize is by countering kicks with punches. A classic counter to a rear leg roundhouse kick is to step in with a cross. When everything goes perfectly, the cross connects first, and the lead leg can smother or brace to negate any remaining power. But Hari, with his insane reach, can pull off this same tactic with a stiff jab. Likewise, Hari can connect with the cross to counter an opponent's lead leg roundhouse. This can work well from southpaw as well, but we'll get more into Hari's stance switching tactics in just a moment. Hari's even had success countering the lead leg roundhouse with the body cross. Once again, this would be very difficult to pull off without the superior reach. Legs tend to be longer than arms after all. But like Thomas the Hitman Hearns, Hari's reach means he can throw straights to the body without dipping down too much or getting too close. This eliminates much of the threat that would normally come from a counter hook or knee. But not all of Hari's counters have to do with reach. While many fighters prefer to alternate retreating and attacking, Hari is just as likely to stay put and hold his ground. This holds true even if his opponent is throwing multi-strike combinations. Most fighters prefer to counter an opponent's rangefinders, like their jabs and teeps. But Hari will stay in the pocket exchanging until somebody lands something decisive. His ability to both defend and counter multiple strikes in a row against elite competition is unprecedented. Even rarer, Hari can utilize subtle head movement to defend and intercept his opponent's attacks. A common theme for Hari is that he looks like a regular, by-the-books fighter until he gets into a longer exchange. And this applies to Hari's footwork as well, whether he's countering or initiating. Although Hari will switch up stances at long range occasionally, transitioning from orthodox with his left leg forward to southpaw with his right leg forward, Hari tends to change his stances mid-exchange. This is not only more surprising to his competitors, but it also grants him access to new angles. Plus, he could load up either side with more power by turning it into his rear side. Attacks off the rear hand or rear leg tend to hit much harder, as the strike has more distance to build up momentum. So changing which side hits harder by switching stances can be a powerful tactic. One of Hari's favorite, but most simple counters is to step back to a squared up neutral stance, sliding to the outside to connect with the right. Similarly, Hari can cut an angle to either side while attacking, in order to flank an opponent and circumvent their guard. Once again, he prefers to move to the outside, but at times, he'll change positions every few strikes. Here we see him employ this concept while clinching. Hari changes positions to drive his knee up one side, then again to find a path through the middle of the guard, and once more from the other side. But while Hari really shines is when he's using this concept while switching stances, and he has a number of ways to do this. Perhaps the most basic way is to switch stances by stepping forward off of his kick. But where Hari differs from most is that he'll switch stances by retracting his kick, setting up his next shot from southpaw. Switching between these two concepts can result in a fluid display of never-ending attacks, as Hari smoothly transitions from retreating to pressuring forward. As bizarre as it seems, Hari will also switch shift to evade kicks. This allows him to slide his left leg back out of danger and brace with his right, all while setting up attacks off his new power side. Like Mike Tyson, Hari also loves to lateral shift. What this essentially means is that Hari places his right foot next to his opponent's left foot, positioning his left side further away from his opponent than his right. This does two things. First, it allows Hari to use the outside foot position to connect with the right lead hook. And second, it creates more space for his left side attacks. A cool spin on this concept is that Hari loves to laterally shift after catching an opponent's kick, giving him the time to change angles and leaving his opponents off balance for when Hari throws his follow-up from southpaw. Now let's look at one last powerful footwork tactic, one I've never gone into at length on the channel before. A powerful concept any fighter with enough talent can employ is to think of traveling in a straight line across their opponent as they throw their combinations, from entry to exit. For instance, Hari can start his attack from the outside, then move deeper and deeper inside until he exits offline. Or vice versa. Linear and lateral shifts like this don't need to occur all in one movement. Each strike can take Hari slightly more offline, meaning his opponent never has time to target him effectively, or adjust his defenses to his new line of attack. It's a great way to always keep your opponent one step behind. As alluded to before, Hari also has a number of subtle setups and guard manipulations to complement his offense. One of these is hand traps, where Hari pulls down his opponent's guard to create space for his next punch. This is especially effective when an opponent is already hurt and trying to shell up. Like Lomachenko, Hari prefers the most direct method, simply tearing down the walls of an opponent's fortress through sheer blunt force. Hari will also use frames to control an opponent's balance and turn him into his attacks. Of course, after hearing all the complicated maneuvers that Hari can pull off, it's important to remember that not everything needs to be complicated. The vast majority of Hari's offense comes off of a rhythmic march, complemented by his ability to feint and break that rhythm at the right time. Without these classic fundamentals, the rest of Hari's style simply wouldn't work. After all, a house must be built from the ground up. Hari's next fight will be against Roshek at Glory 78, and I would highly encourage everyone to tune in for what's sure to be an exciting fight. If you're interested in learning more techniques and tactics like the ones that Hari uses, You can check out my books on footwork, defense, and power, linked in the description. From the Modern Martial Artist, this has been David Christian, wishing you happy training.